Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho. We're going to blast through a whole bunch of stuff today about whether or not the coronal mass ejections that have happened in the past 24 are Earth-facing or not. Who knows? I know. I'm going to share it with you in a moment. Also, we'll talk about an exclusive BitChute upload. First, we're going to look at the sun. Here's the intensity gram showing several sunspots in the southern hemisphere and one just rising in the northern hemisphere. Here's the location of that one, 2787 is what that one will get named if it's not named yet. We already covered it yesterday. And let's talk about coronal mass ejections. Here's the view from the LASCO C2. And we see a coronal mass ejection on the left and the right, which would be the east and west respectively. We'll tell you more about it once we have the data on the screen. Here's a view from the LASCO C3, which is basically a zoomed out version of the same thing. And the LASCO is part of the SOHO spacecraft located at Lagrangian point 1, shown here. Allow me to get off the screen. Shown here as L1, the Discover spacecraft. Now, we're going to go to L5, Lagrange point 5, to look at the view from stereo A to see what's been going on. And the coronal mass ejection you see right at the end of the video right there is not done unfolding yet. However, it appears that it will miss the Earth to the west. So just to go back 2 frames here, you see this one coming out of the western limb at the end of the movie right there. The first coronal mass ejection looks like it'll certainly miss the Earth. The second one probably also will miss, although there could be components of that that are indeed Earth-facing. So there's again the view from Lagrange point 5. And there's Lagrange point 1. Next, we've got some great Helio viewer movies, as we typically do. First, we'll talk about the radio flux, which is at 108. So the highest levels we've seen here since 2015, I believe. Almost halfway to solar maximum already. And here are some Helio viewer movies for you. Here's a great view, a composite of the sun in 304 and 171 angstroms, as well as the LASCO C2, a great view of the coronal mass ejection to the east, and the one that is currently unfolding as we made the video. We'll blast through a lot of stuff here. Here's sunspot 2787 in magnetogram mode. No major changes happening with that. Expect to see that named today. And here are the fields of 2786. A gigantic sunspot. And it is beta gamma class, if you were wondering. Although the likelihood of additional coronal mass ejections has dropped a bit, as there is a lot less plasma filament material in between the local yellow dwarf and planet Earth. Pretty stable there, sunspot 2785, which is this one, and 2786, which is this behemoth here. Next, we've got a full disk view. We're looking at 304 angstroms as well as 171 angstroms. Fantastic view of that. And we'll do some close-ups in these same wavelengths. So here's the rising 2787, a small sunspot, especially comparatively speaking. And here's where the real fireworks is happening, 2785 and 2786. If you've got a backyard telescope with a solar filter, it's a great time to go have a look. possibly another sunspot rising there behind sunspot 2786. We'll let you know by the end of the video if it indeed is or not. Next, thanks to our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. You can get perks at patreon.com/smashomash. We recommend joining at the $3 per month level, as that will be our lowest cost tier by the end of the year. Thanks to our patrons, patreon.com/smashomash. And even if you're unwilling to pay us a couple bucks per month, maybe sign up there anyway as we put up some public posts. Now, I'd like to talk about the Smashlight segments. Today we've uploaded a Smashlight segment, and it has to do with COVID, SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus, whatever you'd like to call it today. It's, at the moment, a BitChute exclusive. And we talk about all kinds of things, whether it's government overreach, COVIDiots, or the government being not good, fast, or cheap, not even fitting into this Venn diagram. So go check that out at bitchute.com/smashomash. And let's see if it's processed yet. If it is, I'll play you a clip. Here's a clip. Here's a random thing. Oh, but you've also got, you can find the clinical information there online if you don't. I've got a certain section I'd like to play for you here on YouTube. Here it is. Again, bitchute.com/smashomash. You'll find exclusive content there. And we just uploaded a video this morning.
Whether they're politicians or media moguls.
And it took quite a long time to make it. That's part of the reason why the Daily Space Weather video is so late.
Non-elected bureaucrats.
All right, and let's move on. Today we're going to forego any cosmology segments or anything like that. I would remind all of our viewers to check out smashomash.com, as we've got our social media there, our VoIP line, email address, as well as links to the Smash store and the smAsho store, and smashomash.com/forum, as well as our most recent 8 videos. Smashomash.org presents The Sun, Part 1 through Part 8. If you visit the smAsho store and the Smash store, if you're going to pick up merch, make sure you use the promo code smAsho on checkout to save 10% through Christmas. There's the Smash store. Here's the smAsho store. And let's move on to some more data. And just bear with me as I ready the next slide. Oh, by the way, one other thing. We have a dream log at smashomash.com/forum if you want to check that out. I had an interesting dream this morning. It was a little bit disturbing, so perhaps go have a read. Maybe post your own dreams. Everybody should have a dream log. We've created one at smashomash.com/forum, a forum that runs itself, as that was the way it was designed. And next, let's take a look at the real-time solar wind, which is pretty weak right now, I think. Current solar wind density, which is in protons per cubic centimeter, is 4.65. Current solar wind speed, 427 kilometers per second. We did see some shifts in the phi angle here, and that's a common thing to see when you see coronal mass ejections, as we've seen those happen. Also, a recent shift in the BTBZ. You can see the upper pane here, the red line, has just shifted well into positive territory. KP index currently at 3, and that's associated with a less than nominal background solar wind density and solar wind velocity. Here's what's going on in the magnetosphere according to the Space Weather Modeling Framework. It's 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. And we show this daily. If you want to see what was happening on a previous day in the morning, well, go watch one of our older videos. The ground magnetic perturbations map is not showing up. I'm just going to show you what was happening just before 4 o'clock, just before 1400 Universal Time. And there's the current situation now. So we've seen that actually calm down a little bit in terms of ground magnetic perturbations. We don't see any big proton strikes. We did see 4 C-class solar flares yesterday, and it looks like one could be occurring as we make the video once again. And we will put up another video today. Probably smAsho.org presents The Sun, Part 9. If you're up before dawn, you may see the brightest object in the sky besides the sun and the moon, Venus, and Mercury rising before the sun. This star chart's from in-the-sky.org. Here's what's going on in the solar system. And there's where we expect things to be in 1 week. And if you're wondering, no, I don't think that in 2024 the Earth is going to go 1 million miles farther out from the sun and leave its orbit. I think that's a ridiculous idea. Next, looking at the GOES magnetometer, and we're continuing to see spikiness here as opposed to smooth lines like this. The N's and M's mean noon and midnight time for the satellite, the GOES 16, and that measurement happens at the ionosphere layer. That's 3 days of data. And let's take a look at some more detailed stuff here. It's the Gong 2 top view ecliptic plane field plot, part of the National Sunspot Observatory. And don't be surprised to see the Earth snap back into the North Pole-oriented current sheet, shown in green. We see some migration of coronal holes, and we'll show you that in the next frame. And here you can see a bunch of North Pole-oriented coronal holes, quite far south, actually south of the equator there, as well as some major moves in the B field. No surprise there, as we see lots of sunspot activity on the eastern limb. Here's a line of sight field plot. As we ramp up to solar maximum, and in terms of radio flux, we're already halfway there. Here's the coronal field plot. And it is sort of all over the place, and this is something that you will see also when you see coronal mass ejections. This will look even more chaotic as time goes on. Next, we'll look at electron flux. Here's a diagram of the Van Allen belts and where satellites are located. We don't see any big-time charging hazards, although there are some minor ones over the Central Pacific. Here's a 1-year chart of the relativistic electrons. The forecast is for this to remain level, and I would concur, especially expecting that the coronal mass ejections unfolding as we make the video will miss the Earth. We've just moved back into warning levels. Again, we're not expecting levels any significantly higher than they were yesterday. I think they made it up to just over 2 times warning levels at about 2,300 pulse flux units. Here's a visualization of the entire air column from the thermosphere down to your GPS handset, potentially. And we do see some anomalies happening here. Some big electron flux regions at nighttime, especially over the equator, but also over North America. And we've been seeing this for the last few weeks and documenting it on the daily space weather videos. Some in the southern hemisphere as well. And next we'll look at just the ionosphere layer. There is the full day of the ionosphere. And we apologize for the lateness with today's daily space weather video. We just needed to make that BitChute exclusive. Let's bring up the latest image and move on, as we've got to get this thing uploaded so we can view the live premiere with our subscribers. And thanks to everybody who's viewing a live premiere with us, as I say this a second time, in syndication. And the ionosphere is looking quite anomalous here, as we have a huge blob of 9 megahertz charged up region there shown in blue. What's been going on the past 24 with volcanoes? Well, we've got a new one on the list. We'll get to it. Kluchevskoy is erupting. It's producing an 18,000-foot plume of ash. Abiko, 12,000-foot plume of ash there. Suinose Jima, 4,000-foot plume of ash there. Mount Ibu, flight level 070. It's a 7,000-foot volcanic ash plume. And Luotolo, after an 8-year calm period, back to erupting, producing some large ash emissions, as well as a bunch of magmatic earthquakes, pyroclastic flows, volcanic bombs, and lahars. Semeru is exploding. Flight level 160, it's producing a 16,000-foot ash plume. Popocatépetl, near Mexico City now, exploding as well. Flight level 190, 19,000 feet. And we're not sure if Sangay, Revenador, or Sabancaya are erupting. Please do not attempt to do a triple Lindy over the caldera. It could be unhealthful. And then you won't be able to view our videos. Next, looking at the last 24 of earthquakes. No major quakes. In fact, it's a lull that's continuing. But look, it's starting out with a series of deep quakes. A deep quake near Japan, near Fiji about 15 minutes later, near Chile about 15 minutes after that, and then an hour later a deep quake in Afghanistan. Scrolling up the list here, let us know if we left out anything you wanted us to cover in the comments. Deep quake strikes Peru, the Philippines, the Fiji Islands. It is a deep quake event. That's a lot of deep quakes. Another deep quake strikes the Japan region. And continuing on here, to look at windy.com, there is where earthly pressure cells are. Well, it will advance this into tomorrow. There's where things will be at noon tomorrow, according to the GFS forecast. Here's a Euro forecast, predicting a little higher pressure over the Central Rockies, for example. Euro forecast, GFS forecast. Euro forecast, GFS forecast. Next, nullschool.net. We're looking at the jet streams of the eastern world. It's the 250 hectopascal winds. And we see a backward jet stream once again over the Indian Ocean. Here are the jets of the western world, rather. Extreme meridional jet stream flow going due north, just east of Greenland, as well as an extreme bend right near the South Atlantic anomaly. Check out that extreme bend. Lightningmaps.org showed us a bunch of terrestrial lightning over the U.S., and it's still striking. Quite heavy off of the coast of North Carolina, but check it out. Lots of lightning here. Hey, Houston, there's thunder rolling in. There are lightning strikes happening in Center City. Check it out. Serious storms happening there. And there's an overall view of the lightning situation. I like to use lightningmaps.org. It's a great way to convince your foes that you're Thor or perhaps Odin, and that you're summoning the lightning, as opposed to just forecasting it. You're summon the lightning, ride the lightning, or something. And here's the NASA GOES 16 lightning mapper, and you can see extreme lightning here off the coast of North Carolina. If you're on the coast in a hotel, for example, go out and have a look to your east. You may see some interesting things above these thunderheads, such as sprites, elves, pink jellyfish, etc. Next, we'll take a look at the U.S. Doppler radar map. And there's where the current storm situation is. Some snow over northeastern Arizona. As well as northeastern Minnesota. Next, we'll look at the water vapor map to give folks an idea of what's going to happen next with these storms. It looks like they're moving pretty quickly, so we'll zoom in on that region. And We're making the video in one take today, folks. It's not streamed live to Twitch. This will be a YouTube exclusive. Since we've made a BitChute exclusive, we'll make a YouTube exclusive. And don't forget to visit our other social media before we vanish because we're banned or something like that. There's exclusive content on all of our social media sites. Hopefully that gives all you Gulf Coast region type folks some concept of what will happen next. And those are actually going to stagnate a little bit here as this moisture is bumping into some dry mass of air, which may slow these systems down and extend your precipitation events. Now don't go anywhere, folks, because we got bonus features. We're going to show you a 48-hour video from the NASA SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, as well as the most current image of the colorized magnetogram. We'll show you sunspot 2783, and there it is. It's actually quite significant here, and it is beta class. It could produce some significant solar flares throughout the day. There's sunspot 2785, which is more simple, and there's sunspot 2786, which is quite complex. There's quite a bit of distance in between these trailing umbrae and this leading umbra, and that could lead to significant solar flares, although again the likelihood of more coronal mass ejections is actually dropping. Here's this other active region which is rising right now. Does not look like a sunspot yet. We'll take a closer look on the intensitygram, and that active region up there, that's sunspot 2787. Surprised if it's not named yet, but I'm not really interested in checking because I do independent stuff, not rely on others to tell me what's happening. So there's 2783 there is actually beta class, like I said. This one is actually still beta class as well, as we have a trailing opposite polarity umbra. And 2786, it has degraded a little bit, but the trailing umbrae are still significant. There's 2787, which appears to be alpha class so far. And that active region rising there does not show any umbrae yet. And if there's anything to keep an eye on throughout the day, well, there's a lot of stuff to keep an eye on. When I say eye on, well, the pun is intentional. Here's that 48-hour SDO video. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Visit the links below the video. Please support the channel, lest it go out of existence entirely, and we'll stop making the videos public or free, or both. In any case, thanks again, and we'll see you next time. May that solar wind be at your back.